Yeah, I'm Lockie Chrysler, and this is Scott McDonald. I'm from Seattle, Washington area, and Scott's, I'll let you take over.
I'm an Arizona boy. I'm from Phoenix.
Oh, we're at Marana Regional Airport in just north of Tucson, Arizona, in the famous Columbine II, Eisenhower's presidential airplane. This guy back here, the engineer, he'll make you or break you. He's got all the engine controls and that. Up front, we have the normal, elevator trim, rudder trim, aileron trim. Autopilot is in-op on this flight. The throttles are here and reverse, and this is our reverse flight indicators. We have, the airplane is hydraulically boosted, and it's like having power steering. Not quite as good, but similar. And if for some reason you lost your hydraulics, we can disconnect so you don't have a hydraulic lock. So we can disconnect the elevator, the rudder, and the ailerons. And then it's like flying a Mack truck with no power steering. We have, like I say, we have throttles and reverse and a master prop control. As long as the engine synchronizer is on and operating. And here's the throttle friction lever, and then this is for electric trim, for a disconnect or engagement. And I'll let Scott continue on his side for what he works with.
Well, I have a pump over here. If I ever get bored, the captain tells me just do something like that. Just pump that handle. No, that's a backup for brakes, or for even putting a landing gear down. Never had to use it. But you can see, like Lockie was explaining, we basically have flying stuff up here. And for such a big airplane with a lot of complicated engines to run, we don't have the stuff, the controls, or even the indicators for that. We do have basic power gauges. We have manifold pressure and RPM gauges. But if you look back here at the flight engineers panel, you'll see a lot. There is a lot going on. But the point is, even compared to, say, a DC-6 or a DC-7, the pilots just rely on the flight engineer on this airplane to do all of this stuff. He alone has the mixture controls. He has a lot more control over the propeller, the individual propeller RPM of all of them. He has an engine analyzer. He can actually look and see how the ignition pattern is doing on each spark plug on the 18 cylinders with 2 spark plugs each, 4 engines. That's a lot of spark plugs to keep track of. And I don't know how he can read all that magic stuff in there. It's sort of an art, I think. And a lot of different power gauges, brake mean effective pressure gauges, in addition to your regular manifold pressure. A lot of temperature gauges, oil temperature, cylinder head temperature. You've got indicators showing you where your cowl flaps are, your air flow through your oil coolers, where those doors are. There's just a lot going on, and a lot of emergency stuff that he can do, a lot of fuel management. That's all for the flight engineer. We don't even have a way to reach it without getting out of our seats. So this is really the flight engineer is really important on this airplane. But the good thing is, we just fly. They're really fun planes to fly. They handle nicely, and it's nice to just say, "Hey, what's going on? You fix it."
Like on takeoff, we call for max power, METO power, climb power, cruise power, and then on approach we'll call for 110 BMEP, something like that, 100 BMEP. And then when we get close in, then we say pilot's power, and that's when we take over the throttles for landing. And he doesn't have reverse, we have reverse up front.
So really, for a lot of the flight, what Lockie's saying is, for a lot of the flight, we just call out what kind of power. We're like a ship's captain, saying all ahead 3/4 or something. That's kind of what we do, and he fine tunes it. And there's a lot to leaning these out too, and it's a complicated procedure. He does all that, watching all these different gauges and recovering the RPM. So you can run the engines a lot more efficiently when you lean them out correctly.
And this is where now I've just got a bonanza recently with fuel injected engine, and a lot of people are running lean of peak. Before, it's always been rich of peak, and this is where lean of peak actually originated from, was from the airlines, and for fuel savings, and that's what we mean by 10% lean. Is you set a power setting. I don't know exactly how it works. I mean, how to do it personally, but I know they bring the. Do you know, Scott?
Well, it's one of those things
being
where
the captain.
That's where the experts do it. I think they're leaning out the mixture a little bit, and they're watching, and they can see where it's getting to be exactly about as lean as it can get. It's called a stoichiometric mixture, and they go leaner than that. And now you're using a little bit extra air, and so you're not running too hot, and you're using quite a bit less. But it's got to be done very precisely. You can really cook an engine if you don't do it right. But it really is. Yeah, I think the military and the airlines, way back in the 40s and early 50s, really got fine-tuned this. These were really the ultimate state-of-the-art of piston-powered engines for large airplanes. And when you think about it, it's 3,350 cubic inches, and sometimes 3,500 horsepower. You're bringing a lot of power out of an air-cooled engine that way. So they're pretty sophisticated, but they're kind of high-strung. So there's a lot to operating them correctly and not damaging some cylinders or the whole engine. But it's really fun, and I have a lot of respect for the good flight engineers. There.
You'll make you or break you.
Yep.